The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the windows of Morrison Retail Complex as 38-year-old James Morrison made his way through the employee areas during one of his monthly undercover visits. As the chief executive officer of Morrison Enterprises, which owned a chain of department stores across the region, James believed in understanding his business from the ground up by occasionally working alongside employees who had no idea they were interacting with their ultimate boss. Today, James wore simple work clothes and carried a clipboard, having spent the morning observing operations in the stock room and loading dock. He had been impressed by the dedication of his employees, but he wanted to get a complete picture of how his stores functioned during the busiest parts of the day. As James made his way toward the employee break room in the basement level, he heard the soft sound of a baby crying echoing through the concrete corridors. Concerned that there might be a customer in distress, he followed the sound down a hallway that led to a storage area that should have been empty during business hours. What he discovered stopped him in his tracks. Sitting on the concrete floor, beside a cardboard box, a young woman in a Morrison Retail uniform was gently feeding a baby with a bottle. The woman appeared to be in her mid-20s with blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail and the name tag Lisa pinned to her work shirt. She was seated on what looked like an old blanket, creating a makeshift feeding area in the dim storage room. James stood quietly for a moment, trying to understand what he was seeing. This employee was clearly on her break, but instead of eating lunch in the break room, she was here in this uncomfortable, isolated space caring for an infant. "Excuse me," James said gently, approaching slowly so as not to startle her. "I am Jim from the corporate office. Is everything all right here?" Lisa looked up quickly, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and embarrassment. She immediately began trying to gather her things, clearly assuming she was in trouble for being in an unauthorized area. "I am so sorry," Lisa said, her voice shaking. "I know I am not supposed to be down here, but I did not have anywhere else to go. I was just feeding Emma during my lunch break and I will go back to my register right away." James held up his hand to indicate she should not worry. "Please do not apologize. I am not here to get you in trouble. I am just trying to understand the situation. Is this your baby?" Lisa nodded, holding Emma protectively. "Yes, this is my daughter. She is 3 months old. I know it looks bad, but I promise I am not neglecting my work. I only come down here during my scheduled breaks." James felt his chest tighten as he began to piece together what was happening. "Lisa, why are you feeding Emma here instead of in the employee break room?" Lisa's cheeks flushed with embarrassment. The break room is always crowded and noisy, and Emma gets scared around a lot of people. Plus, some of the other employees complained that the crying was disturbing their lunch. I found this quiet spot where I could feed her and she could sleep peacefully. James looked at this young mother who was clearly doing everything she could to balance her responsibilities as an employee and a parent under the most challenging circumstances. "Lisa, where is Emma during your work hours?" "I have her with me," Lisa admitted quietly. "I know it is against company policy, but I could not afford child care and I cannot leave her home alone. I keep her in the stock room in her carrier and she usually sleeps most of the day. During my breaks, I come down here to feed her and check on her." James felt a profound sense of both admiration and concern as he understood the full scope of what Lisa was managing. She was working full-time while caring for an infant, finding creative solutions to keep both her job and her baby safe, all while trying to maintain her responsibilities to the store. "Lisa, how long have you been doing this?" James asked gently. "Since I came back from maternity leave 6 weeks ago," Lisa replied. "I tried to find child care, but the waiting lists are months long and the private day carries cost more than I make in a week. I was desperate to keep my job, so I thought maybe I could make this work until I found a better solution." James sat down on a nearby crate, wanting to be at Lisa's eye level for this conversation. "Tell me about your situation at home. Is Emma's father able to help with child care?" Lisa's expression grew sad. "Emma's father left when he found out I was pregnant. It has just been the two of us since she was born. I live with my grandmother, but she is not able to care for Emma during the day because of her own health issues." James looked at this young woman who was clearly facing overwhelming challenges with remarkable courage and resourcefulness. "Lisa, what you are doing takes incredible strength, but I am concerned about both you and Emma trying to manage this arrangement long-term. Lisa's eyes filled with tears. I know it is not ideal, but I did not know what else to do. I need this job to pay for rent and Emma's medical expenses, but I cannot afford child care. I have been hoping something would work out, but I know I cannot keep bringing her to work much longer. James made a decision that would change both their lives. Lisa, I want you to know that you are not in trouble and you are not going to lose your job, but I think we need to find a better solution that works for both you and Emma. Over the following week, James worked quietly behind the scenes to address Lisa's situation. He researched the child care options in the area and discovered that Lisa was right about the waiting lists and costs being prohibitive for someone earning retail wages. James also learned more about Lisa's work performance and discovered that despite her personal challenges, she was one of the most reliable and customer-focused employees in the store. Her supervisors had consistently rated her as professional, helpful, and dedicated. The following Monday, James arranged to meet with Lisa during her break. This time in the proper conference room rather than the storage area. Lisa, James began, I have been thinking about your situation, and I have a proposal that I hope will help both you and Emma. Lisa looked at him with a mixture of hope and apprehension. Morrison Enterprises has been considering establishing an on-site child care center for our employees, James continued. We have the space in this building, and there is clearly a need. I would like to fast-track this project and offer you the first spot for Emma. Lisa stared at him in disbelief. Mr. Jim, that sounds incredible. But I could never afford private child care, even if it is on site. James smiled. The child care would be subsidized by the company. Your cost would be based on your income, making it affordable for you while ensuring Emma receives professional care. But why would the company do this? Lisa asked, still hardly believing what she was hearing. Because employees like you are the foundation of our success, James replied. You have shown incredible dedication and resourcefulness, and the company should support working parents, not force them to choose between their jobs and their children. 3 months later, the Morrison Enterprises Child Care Center opened in a renovated space on the building's second floor. Emma was among the first children enrolled and Lisa was able to visit her during breaks in a proper comfortable environment, rather than hiding in storage areas. But James's support for Lisa went beyond just solving her child care crisis. He had been so impressed by her character and problem-solving abilities that he offered her a promotion to the customer service training department where her empathy and communication skills could be better utilized. Lisa James said during her performance review 6 months later, you have shown me what real dedication looks like. Taking care of Emma while maintaining your work responsibilities, finding creative solutions to seemingly impossible problems. These are exactly the kinds of skills we need in leadership positions. Lisa, who now worked in a comfortable office helping train new employees, looked at the man who had transformed her life. Mr. Jim, I still do not understand why you helped me. Most companies would have fired me for bringing Emma to work. James leaned back in his chair, thinking about how much his understanding of leadership had changed since discovering Lisa in that storage room. Lisa, you taught me that the most valuable employees are not necessarily those with the most credentials, but those with the most character. You were willing to sleep on a concrete floor to take care of your daughter while still doing excellent work. That told me everything I needed to know about who you are. 2 years later, at the grand opening of Morrison Enterprises' 5th on-site child care center, James stood before an audience of employees and community leaders telling the story of how the program had begun. This initiative started when I discovered an employee making incredible sacrifices to balance her responsibilities as both a worker and a mother, James said, looking at Lisa, who was now the director of Employee Family Services. She showed me that when companies support their employees' families, everyone benefits. Lisa held Emma, now a healthy, happy 2-year-old, as she listened to James speak. After the ceremony, she approached him with tears of gratitude in her eyes. James, she said, having learned his true identity months earlier, you changed everything for Emma and me. But I want you to know that what you did was not charity. You invested in people, and that investment has created something beautiful for so many families. James smiled, watching Emma play with the other children in the bright, cheerful child care center that had grown from one mother's desperate need into a program that now served over 100 families. Lisa, You taught me that real success is not measured by profit margins, but by how well we take care of the people who make our success possible. Sometimes the best business decisions are the ones that come from the heart. As James watched Lisa and Emma walk home together, no longer worried about tomorrow's child care or next month's bills, he reflected on how a discovery in a basement storage room had taught him the most important lesson of his career. Sometimes, he thought, the most valuable insights come not from boardroom presentations or market research, but from seeing how real people navigate real challenges with courage, creativity, and love. And sometimes the best way to build a successful company is to build a community that supports the families who make that success possible.